Hello and welcome to Brodual. Today we have Arcanum, a new age of magic. This massive spell mod aims to combine unique gameplay and visual effects to offer a new type of spell mod never seen before in Skyrim. It started with destruction and is now slowly working its way into restoration, with plans to cover all of the magical types Skyrim has to offer. Before we get into the video, we want to share something we've been working on. There's been plenty of times where we've stumbled upon a simple mod that doesn't quite fit a bigger video, or it's too small for its own one. So when we stumbled upon Amino's new stories feature, we thought it'd make a great new place to share some content. The stories are basically short, snappy videos that cover almost any topic, from games to movies to art and more. We thought it could also make a great place where we could share these smaller mods, and maybe even other forms of content. So we've partnered with Amino to make our own stories. Right now we have one up that covers what Tier 6 Hammerfell might look like, and we plan to cover mods, lore and all things Elder Scrolls. To check it out now, you can find a link in the description below, or you can search for Amino apps on your app store. You can find our stories on there by searching for Brodual, where you should also follow us and click on the bell for more. We'll have another story up soon, so be sure to go there and check us out. Jumping back into the mod, Arcanum offers over 50 new spells for you to get your hands on. They're spread evenly across magical levels, from novice to master, and even further beyond. They've been introduced in 3 core ways. Around 2/3 of them could be found in the normal way, by finding spell tomes on vendors and in loot, just like most of the vanilla spells. The other spells added by the mod, however, can only be obtained through a new spellcrafting system, or through a new ancient invocation system. These 2 late game features let you mix and match the elements to cast some of the most powerful destruction magic ever added to Skyrim, but more on that later. For the new spells, the mod separates the 3 elements to offer more distinct styles, both through their visuals and their effects. This differs from vanilla, where the 3 elements basically share the same set of spells. Whether it's the bolt spell, the concentration beams, the floor spells, or even the master spells, they're all very similar. With Arcanum, fire spells offer short cast times, high damage, and at a reasonable Magiska cost. They're designed to be spammed, letting you output tremendous amounts of damage to a single target or a wider area. With spells like Blazing Soul, you're actually rewarded with buffs when you cast spells as fast as possible. Think of it like you're playing a pyromancer who's gone mad with power. You want to output as much raw firepower as possible, destroying absolutely everything around you in the process. A more advanced pyromancer will even learn the ability to heal themselves with the fire they cast around them. The new frost spells focus more on AoE damage, control and debuffs. They have longer cast times and higher Magiska costs, meaning they're probably used best as an initiation to begin the fight, especially when taking on a group of enemies. Cover the ground in ice with Icy Vortex or cripple them with ice to prevent their combat. If you're playing as a pure cryomancer, you can finish them off with the hard to aim spells like Crystal Spear, which is hard to aim normally, but on a crippled enemy it's a piece of cake. And finally, shock spells are single target glass cannon type spells. They deal by far the most damage to a single target but have higher Magiska costs. And in a lot of cases, you even have to sacrifice your own health to cast them. Unique to shock spells is a type of chain reaction system, where the effects of spells can only be triggered when you cast other shock spells. Once you trigger the reaction, it can deal incredible amounts of pure health % damage, letting you take down even the strongest of enemies with ease. What's great is that there's enough variety within each element that you can stick to a single element and still be powerful, but an elementalist that learns to combine all 3 will become almost unstoppable. Control them with ice to destroy them with fire. Sacrifice your health with shock spells to heal it back with a fire spell. A master elementalist can even summon incredibly powerful tornadoes and bring their enemies together, before blasting them away with a cruel sun. In the mid to late game, once you have a good grasp of your new spells, you'll want to grow even stronger. One option you have is to use the knowledge you've gained to reformulate your spells into entirely new ones. This works through a new crafting system that lets you combine certain spell visuals and effects to create up to 10 new spells. These offer upgrades or interesting twists to how some of the new spells work. It might change a slow moving projectile spell into one that moves incredibly quickly through the air, piercing anything it hits for bleed damage. Or maybe it transforms a tri-attack, which combines the 3 weak elemental spells, into a tri-disaster, bringing some of the most powerful spells from each element together to create a devastating new master spell. Despite reformulated spells being incredibly powerful, they're nothing compared to another new late game feature, Spell Invocation. After completing a small quest, you'll be given the opportunity to put your destruction skills to the test by fighting the Invoker of the Ancients. This boss fight basically represents the ultimate destruction mage, and if you beat him, you'll gain his ability to invoke your own spells. This works through a new ancient invocation power, and if you've ever played Dota, the system basically works the same way as the hero Invoker does. Every time you cast an elemental spell, you'll gain an orb of that element. Combine 3 orbs and you'll invoke a new spell for a single cast. So combine Shock, Shock and Shock to invoke Extractive Magica Pulse. This creates a collapsing sphere of energy that collects everyone's Magica before exploding outwards, dealing huge amounts of damage. Or instead combine Fire, Fire and Shock to summon the Star of Extinction, which as its name suggests will destroy pretty much anything and everything in its path. Being able to mix and match the elements in rewarding ways is one of the core ideas behind the mod, and the invocation system is the end result of that goal. It's incredibly fun to find out what spells lie behind the different combinations, and despite it being a little gimmicky, we think it's a rewarding way to end a playthrough. By the time you unlock the ancient invocation power, you'll essentially be done with most of the game. But the invoked spells can be a fun way to beat some of the game's final or optional bosses in a way that's fitting to one of the best destruction mages to ever grace the world of Skyrim. As I said at the beginning, the authors only started with destruction, but he plans to move on to restoration and the other schools of magic. You can play around with the beginning of the new restoration spells by using console commands, but as of right now there's nothing concrete. We love the idea of each school having its own ancient boss at the end to test out the new spells, especially after you spend hours in a playthrough building your own magical arsenal. And it'll be interesting to see what each school would have as its ultra late game equivalent to the invocation system that destruction has, so I guess we'll have to wait and see. If you're thinking of creating an elementalist, you can find everything you need down below. As always, be sure to leave endorsements on any mod you enjoy, and thanks for watching.